Thank you. We resume our conversation with James Carville. First of all, James, I am more than familiar with the very formidable guys at Endymion down the street, so thank you for that mention. Secondly, go back. You just made the point very clearly that this race has, on the Democratic side, a clearly defined front runner. That front runner is Bernie Sanders. Ergo,
Correct.
what should that mean? What happens now?
Well, we're going to see a complete change in tenor on Monday night. If we don't, then our field is really dumb. I mean, Bernie Sanders is the issue. Anytime you become the front runner, I remember when we were the front runner in '92, we got all the heat, as we should. The New York Times wrote a Whitewater story, didn't get a single fact right, but at least they tried to cobble something together like they had a role to play in this. And we're plunging ahead. Meanwhile, the ABC Washington Post poll comes out. Buttigieg is plus 17 against Trump with college-educated women, and Sanders is at 2. These are the kinds of facts that people have to be presented with. We've got to, and I see that 2/3 of the Nevada caucus goers really want to win the election. I don't know if us in the media are sufficiently telling people what are the risks that you're running by doing this. I think voters need to really be appraised of what's going on here. Hopefully these candidates have the skill and are able to do this. We got a week to go before South Carolina, and then 48 hours later, you had Super Tuesday, and things are going to be happening furious and fast. And we got to gear up for an entirely different race than what you've seen before. The tenor it has changed in this race. The ground has shifted. Strategic imperatives are now different. We're entering a different time, and it's a very compressed and short time that we're in this time frame. So people had better get real. These campaigns better stay up late. They better be thinking about how they're going to put forward what they're about, how they're going to deal with the debate, how they're going to allocate scarce media resources. And some people are just not going to make it for very long, and that's just the nature of presidential politics. So we got a lot of news here coming up next week. I promise you, a lot.
James, you just mentioned the risk. Define risk in your view, and talk about down ballot races under a Sanders nominee.
Right. Well, first of all, I won't mention names, but I get any number of calls from panicked congressional incumbents. I know what's happening out there. I got a real good idea. The entire theory that by expanding the electorate, increasing turnouts, you can win an election is the equivalent of climate denying. All right? When people say that, they're as stupid to a political scientist as a climate denier is to an atmospheric scientist. So whatever you do, if you want to vote for Bernie Sanders because you feel good about his program, because you don't like the banks on Wall Street, or you don't like pharmaceuticals, that's completely legitimate. I understand that. If you're voting for him because you think he'll win the election, because he'll galvanize heretofore sleepy parts of the electorate, then politically you're a fool. And that's just a fact. It's no denying it. There's so much political science, there's so much research on this that it's not even a debatable question. And if people are praised to this and they know that and they want to do it as Democrats, that's their own business. But I don't think that they have all of the facts that they need before they make this judgment going forward.
James Carville, is Nicole Wallace. You're describing what sounds a lot like political suicide, and I think we need a psychologist to understand that. I want to understand what the psychology could be behind the Bernie alternative's rise. I mean, this would seem like the hitting the bottom is the way most people begin to recover. I mean, this would be this victory that looks imminent in Nevada for Bernie. If there's going to be a wake-up call, maybe this would be it, if that's the way it heads. Is there any sort of gathering place? Is there any sort of way to galvanize the non-Bernie vote around today's result?
I don't know. And, of course, in 1983, the British Labour Party, which just has to be one of the truly stupid parties in the entire world, of course, Bernie Sanders loves, penned what was called after the election, I think Michael Foote was the candidate, the longest suicide note in history. They put out like a 60-page plan. I don't know. But I just don't think that we have, thought this out. I think the other candidates and other campaigns, and I understand they're attacking each other, we got to make the choices that Democrats have to make going forward as they approach this. We got to win this. If you don't win the Senate back, you don't get anything. Even if you're stupid theory and you get 280 electoral votes, and let's say Nancy Pelosi and we have such skilled incumbents in the House that we're able to hang on to the House majority, nothing is going to change. And you're just going to go down the same road again. If you don't push yourself to be a majoritarian party, to take advantage of an election where you have 55% of the votes available to you, then you're making a real mistake, in my opinion. And all that I can do and have a voice is tell people this is the choice. You choose what side you want, but be sure that you're as informed as you can be on the choice you make. And I think that's really what it's about.
James, you and Mary live outside of the media hubs. As mother of an 8-year-old, I interact with a lot of people outside my media life. Is part of the blame that the media shoulders in this is that we respond to the squeaky wheels? I learned everything I knew as a press person from watching the War Room and from studying the Clinton campaign. But the Sanders campaign and the Trump campaign, they've taken these things to dark arts of abusing the press, of bullying the press. I mean, what do we miss in terms of paying attention to a squeaky, angry minority and ignoring the majority?
Right. I don't know. And everybody complains to me in the media and the press. I said, I don't know how to tell you this. The press has not near as much power as they had when I was young. Remember, Lyndon Johnson said, if I lost the war because I lost Walter Cronkite?
Yeah.
I mean, if you lose Wolf Blitzer, you're not going to lose anything. I mean, that's just the way America, and I don't mean to pick on Wolf. I like him. I would say the same thing about any of our hosts on my own network right now. It just had this diffusion of media power and media authority. And you're right, Trump and Bernie Sanders are able to. And by the way, the happiest person right now, it's about 1:15 Moscow time. This thing is going very well for Vladimir Putin. I promise you. He's probably staying up watching us right now. How you doing, Vlad?
That's absolutely right. And James, there's reporting that that's exactly what the intelligence agencies think is going on. I mean, the Sanders campaign was briefed that Putin is helping him or plans to help him in the primary. Amazing.
And I don't think Sanders wants Putin to help. The only reason, why would Vladimir Putin be helping Bernie Sanders? Of course, because he wants Donald Trump to win. I mean, it's a straight line, and I don't think that the Sanders campaign in any way is collusion or collaboration. I think they don't like this story, but the story is a fact. And the reason that the story is a fact is Putin is doing everything that he can to help Trump, including trying to get Bernie Sanders the Democratic nomination. If you remember when Bernie ran in 2016, his chief strategist was Paul Manafort's sidekick in the Ukraine. I mean, this thing just didn't start right now. And it's something that people need to know about. They need to be made aware of it. The candidates on the debate stage in South Carolina on Monday night need to quit attacking each other and start talking about where this country is and how do you push it forward under some real choices that Democrats have to make.
My question for you,
James, one more for me out in Vegas.
Sure.
And that is, if I gave you a ballroom with all the candidates on the Democratic side, not named Bernie, and what happened in that ballroom stayed in that ballroom, what would you say to them gathered together the day after the Nevada caucuses?
I just say we got to win. Without any, right now, I think the country is at such peril, and I think that people do want to win. I think that they need someone that is able to intelligently frame the issue and frame the choices that they have to make. I think if that happens, I still, in my heart of hearts, believe that we can have a big year. But I have to tell you, the hour is getting late, and I keep waiting for something like this to happen, and I haven't had it yet. But hopefully I'll see it here in the next couple of 3 weeks. I have to stay optimistic. It's all I can do.